It's Divas That Care Radio. Stories, strategies, and ideas to inspire positive change. Welcome to Divas That Care, a network of women committed to making our world a better place for everyone. This is a global movement for women, by women, engaged in a collaborative effort to create a better world for future generations. To find out more about the movement, visit divasthatcare.com after the show. Right now, though, stay tuned for another jolt of inspiration.
Hello to all. Welcome to Divas That Care Network. I am Joyce Benning, and I will be your host for this invigorating, robust lifestyle show. I am just so very thankful for each one of our listeners that are tuning in live today and the ones that will be listening to the podcast. It is just such an honor to have all of you listening in to this fabulous show that you are going to hear today. As I have with me my returning monthly diva, Deb Matlock, and her and I are going to chat about wild connections and being human. Oh my, is this ever going to be a great chat today? So Deb, could you please introduce yourself to our listeners today?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Yes, my name is Deb Matlock, and I'm coming to you all today from Colorado, and spring just started this week. We've got a little bit of snow on the ground, but I run a small business called Wild Rhythms, and the focus of that business is helping people weave their eco-spiritual journeys into their life and their work. So I work a lot with individuals and practitioners who are interested in creating their own innovative and unique nature connection activities for their clients and communities. And this topic of being human and wild connection is a foundational topic to where all of my work and also my personal life has actually come from as the years have gone by. So I'm excited to chat about it.
Oh, Deb, yes, this just fits perfect into Wild Rhythms, your website of earth, animals, and spirit. I just love it, and how you help others in the web to put all of that together. That is just so beautiful. I love it. Well, as we start to chat about this, and you have experienced so much through all the individuals you have worked with, the groups, the different organizations, a little bit of everything, how do you feel that the wild connection all brings us together in playing a part in us being human?
Oh, I just kind of got chills when you said that question. I think it's the first thing that comes to my mind is that it's important to remember that we don't become who we are as individuals or as a species in a vacuum. We're not sitting on the moon, for example. We're not floating out in space. We are here on this earth. And so all of our interactions from the time we're a tiny little baby and we're sitting outside and we get curious about, a bird in a tree or a sound we're hearing rustling in the leaves, all of these interactions, all of these connections feed into us and they start to mold us and shape us into the people that we become, as adults and as we move through our lives. And so I think it's just such a beautiful acknowledgement that our relationships, whether they're human or with the rest of the living world, they are who we are. We can't pretend, we didn't all become ourselves sitting in a dark room in a vacuum.
Yes. Oh, how true that is. And all of our interactions from when we are little, I mean, it just flashed into my mind of when I was little and growing up, and we always had goldfish in the stock tanks for the cattle. And I loved to watch the little goldfish swimming around and what a part they played in making a connection with them, because the beauty they brought and just watching them and just being outside in nature. And I remember making mud pies and just different things of that we did. So how true it is that it starts when we are just little and just starting to explore the outdoors and explore what's around us. And to me, it's how it all weaves together to bring us in to who we are today. And I love how you said that, of all the interactions of when we are small. So those were a couple thoughts that just immediately popped into my mind about when I was growing up and when I was little.
And I think that, for each of us to reflect on our childhood memories with that curiosity of, what are the things that occurred in my childhood, or relationships I had with the tree in the backyard, or an animal I was growing up with, or, just all those little things, if we let ourselves dig into those memories a little bit and just get curious about, because we may find that there are threads that have carried through into our lives as adults that kind of surprise us, like the mud pies, for example. Are there threads from those little mud pies that fuel you today, and the work you do today, and the way that you are in the world today? And I think it's a fun question to ask ourselves.
Oh, I do too. What part did they play into weaving us into who we are and connecting with earth, with animals, with the spirits, with everything around us? Because it's just so beautiful. Because when I was growing up, it was the same sky out there and above us that it is right now, and how that all played a part into weave into who we are making, who each individual is becoming each day. And the animals have, in my life, they have always played such an important part. And I've loved them from when I was little, and continue to love them. And I just can't. It's hard for me to manage to even imagine life without them, because I have been very fortunate and blessed to have my dogs and my horses in my life all the time. And I'm just like, they are such a big part of what has made me who I am. So, and I feel it all comes together in being a part of the wild connections to make us humans into who we are today.
Absolutely. And I think, if we want to get kind of deep into the realities of what it means to be alive on this earth, and I'm not talking necessarily about belief systems and philosophies as much as just the kind of the facts. The facts are we have to eat. The facts are we have to breathe, that we have to drink water. The fact of the matter is that our needs are very similar to all the other animals' needs, space and nourishment and, opportunity to fulfill our lives, and all of those things are very deep, intimate connections. Whether we're eating, whether it's animals or plants, we're eating the earth and the beings on the earth, and whether we're conscious of those actions or not, and conscious of the choices we make, it's like those are the things that kind of also make us who we are. And I think that those initial connections are what fuel, or fuel how we do things and how we decide to operate our daily lives, and how we have consciousness. Like I have a lot of friends who are hunters who have some of the most beautiful, deep connections to wildlife that I've ever seen. And it's because of their awareness of this deep connection. And they're weaving their experiences of loving animals, but also wanting to acknowledge that as they eat this animal that they've just killed, that they are in this deep, wild dance of connection. And I think that there's such a profound way to be aware of our connection, even when it's not all hearts and flowers, so to speak. It's not all bird song. Some of it is, but some of it is some other nitty-gritty stuff. And I think that that's where some of the beauty of really letting ourselves understand our humanness as a wild part of ourselves is so present.
Oh, yes. And I love how you said we all need the same thing. Like we all need to eat, we all need to breathe, we all need water. And it's the same with the trees and the plants. And the flowers, they all need the ground and the nourishment from it and the rainwaters, or if we're watering them, to be able to thrive. And they're breathing too. And it's just amazing when you start to look around how we're all connected like that. we're all needing the same basic facts in life to survive on. And that is what is so beautiful to me. It's such a beautiful connection that it's just incredible how we are all so connected and intertwined together.
You know, exactly. And one thing I find myself thinking and saying a lot, I often write this on social media posts, and I realize, wow, I must say this a lot. It's that we're more alike than we are different. And I think that's another piece of this, is what does it mean to be human in wild connection, is really acknowledging that we're more alike with all the other beings than we are different from the other beings. And I'm even talking about earthworms and single-cell organisms. If we really let ourselves think about it, we have a lot in common, you know, and one of those things that is so beautiful about commonality is it also allows us to see where our differences are. You know, when we acknowledge so much commonality, we can also say, oh, so how am I different, and what can I do with that difference? You know, what can I do with my human brain or my opposable thumbs, or, you know, what can I do to really be a supportive and compassionate force within the face of this commonness that we all have?
Oh, yes. Oh, I love that. How you can look at your differences and be a compassionate force. Come with love come from your heart is how I would put it. And how you can really, I see it as how you can use the differences to help something else to make their life maybe a little better. Like if we're kind of going through some dry weather and the flowers are needing a drink, we have the capability and have that in your heart and see that it needs a drink too. Or the birds, if you are watering them. I know mine water out of, all winter long they have watered out of the heated dog water bowls outside. And it's just those little things that you can see when you stop and kind of look and think about how you can come from your heart and make a difference to make some of their lives a little bit easier too, because they give you so much, and I love how we can give back in a compassionate way to them also.
You know, that makes me think of a story that has happened in Colorado here a few times in the winter, where we've had big snow dumps in the higher mountains, and sometimes a large herd of elk will get stuck in a valley, or, you know, where the snow is just so deep, and they're just stuck. And after a certain amount of time, you know, they've eaten all they can eat in that area, and they would normally need to be moving, and they can't. And it's been more than once that the Parks and Wildlife Department has gone in and done aerial drops of food for these elk, you know, and it just gets them through until the snow melts down a little bit, and they can start their natural movements. And you know, some of that people may say, well, that's a management choice. And yeah, part of it probably is, but there's also a part of it that is knowing that these animals are up there stuck and they need food, because we are so similar. We would be in the same boat. You know, we wouldn't be able to live for very long stuck in one spot all year, you know, for a whole season either, unless we had really stored up our food. So it's just such a beautiful expression of all the different ways we can, big or small in our lives, we can say, wow, I acknowledge that I am who I am because of who everybody else is around me. And like you said, sometimes it might mean we can put some water on the flowers in our yard. You know, that, ooh, do you look really thirsty today? I can fix that. Yeah. It's
just such little things. It doesn't have to be, to me, the great big things that you sometimes hear about that others are doing. It's the small things that you can do to make a difference and feel that wild connection of how you are helping each other and how much the plants, the trees are enjoying that nourishment, or the birds are enjoying a place to be able to get a drink, or I know there's a lot of people that love to feed the birds. And to me, that is just beautiful, because in the wintertime especially, you're giving those birds the nourishment that they are so needing when there's not all the bugs and everything on the ground that they can be foraging on. So it's just, taking a step back a little bit and looking and seeing. So many people are already doing things like that to make that connection that I often wonder, do they really realize what a connection they are making and what a difference they're making in those birds or trees or wildlife's life by the little things that they are doing in that way? So it's just kind of taking a step back, like I said, and just look at what you can do and what you are already doing to make a difference and to make that connection.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I think that this is where we can also step in and say, okay, we have all this connection and all this commonality, and now with my human brain, what can I do to learn about how to do this really well? And like, I love the example of feeding birds, because learning about the birds in the area and who's migrating through when and what kinds of food sources are scarce at certain times, learning about washing out bird feeders and managing for disease, and all of these things are things that we can then take our human brain, educate ourselves so that when we can go out there and really honestly do some incredibly good things. And it gets me so excited when I think about that. You know, I get really excited about education, and I've worked in environmental education for 25 years because, first of all, the world is just amazing. You know, it's so fun to learn about. And second of all, because the more that we learn, the more we can really acknowledge our deep relationship in a way that is so beneficial. And I think that is such an empowering thing. When we all get in those moments, you know, sometimes the news can bring us down, or the feeling kind of small and hopeless in the face of so much going on this earth. And I think there's a lot of empowerment. We can give our soul a little break, you know, by saying, ooh, I just learned about this new bird that I saw in my backyard, and here's when they're coming through, and here's what they like to eat. Oh, okay, let me call my wild bird, you know, seed center and see what, you know, like, it's such a beautiful, and like you said, it feels like a small act, but the beauty of every small act is it's not small to everyone it impacts. So like for those birds, that bird, for example, finding a way station on the migration route that has what the bird needs is not a small act. You know, it's like I've heard people say rescuing a dog won't change the world, but for that dog, the world will be changed forever. Mm-hmm. And I think that is the kind of way we can so beautifully dance in this space of wild connection and really become fully, you know, the depth of our humanness can really be expressed.
Oh, I love that. I love that, to dance in that space with the wild connection, because that's exactly what it is. Like you said, rescuing one dog isn't going to make a difference, maybe you feel, in the whole world of dogs that need rescued, but to that one dog, it means the world, and you've totally changed its life. And, that just warmed my heart, because I love that. It's just taking that one little step and to make a difference. And I mean, even with the birds, enjoying their singing, because they're out there in the mornings, they're out there all day long just singing away. And if you just stop and listen to them, they appreciate you hearing their music, because that is how they communicate what they're giving to the world in their beauty and with their song, and that's part of their dance with you, I feel. It is for me, because to me it's just, I call it music from heaven when I hear them singing, because it's like the angels are singing, and I just love it. I just absolutely love it. So there are so many little things. And just something else that came to my mind, we have black walnut trees all around here, and I have never noticed in all the years I've lived here and noticed when the black walnuts, they'll come apart, they have the most beautiful heart, some of them, on the inside. It is unbelievable what a beautiful heart shape they have inside that black walnut shell. I'm like, oh my, here you are laying on the ground, and yet you are showing me beauty by having a heart shape in your walnut shell. And it was just something that came to mind when we talk about wild connections, because to me that was it was amazing. I was like, oh, my word, this is just beautiful.
Oh, yeah, I love that, and it's like, again, it's pointing to something that is similar. Certainly our heart plays a little different role, perhaps, but the fact is, the black walnut, and the human being have a heart, and it's just like, again, we're just so much more alike. And I'm not simplifying and saying it's just, I get, the biological purpose of our heart to pump the blood, but I think we can move into a place of saying, how many different ways does the heart show up in the wild natural world? Ours is only one. Mammals and birds and amphibians, we've got one purpose. Our heart does one sort of thing, but what about that black walnut? That's a heart too. And it's such a fun way to look at, what are all the ways that an expression happens around us. And again, informs us, because how were you changed by seeing that, and it became a part of your fabric, your humanness, your soul. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm guessing it you brought it up, so it obviously meant something to you, right? So.
Oh, yes. It meant a lot to me, because now I have quite a few of them in the house. I have one right here in my office I was looking at, and it just came to my mind. I'm like, oh, my goodness, I've got to share this, because, yes, now the really perfect hearts, I pick them up and wash them up, and now I have them kind of laying around in different spaces, and they mean something. They brought something into my life, because I love the shape of a heart. It is just beautiful. It means so much. And in such a small way, this black walnut brought that from outside in nature into my life, and I can have it in my house too, to remind me of the beauty that is out there, and it's all around. So, yeah, there are just so many ways that we can become connected. Speaking of birds, the other evening we had a light shower here, and I was outside. It had stopped showering, and I do not know what kind they are, but they're little black birds. And there were thousands of them that started circling our place and circling up in the trees. And they were just making the most beautiful, beautiful, beautiful music. And so I just sat down on the ground with my dog and my cat and just sat there and just soaked it all up, because it was just gorgeous. And they just sang, and a few of them would fly off, and then they'd circle back in, and I was like, oh my goodness, it almost gave me the chills, because it was so moving to see them birds come in like that right around my house and on the place, and they were just so calm and so peaceful, and it just brought such tranquility to me after the light shower that we had here, and it was just gorgeous, and I just enjoyed that so much.
Yeah, and I wonder, their experience of you and your cat and your dog, and if they were there calm and singing, it was like, obviously of course they're aware of you, but they weren't upset, they weren't flying off, they weren't, it doesn't sound like, so it sounds like this beautiful dance, this beautiful connection, and adding to your experience of life. And I think that's one of the things that, if there's really kind of one point in this conversation of kind of what does it mean to be human in connection with wildness and all of the rest of the beings, it's that our experiences make us. And, that's true for our engagement with other humans, and it's just as true for our engagement with the world around us. So that experience you described, I could feel my heart, getting happy hearing about it and imagining how happy and calm that made you, and our experiences make us. And so when we consciously look at the world around us as, basically constant experience, a constant chance for us to grow and develop ourselves as humans on this earth in these deep connections with the other beings around us, it's like we kind of stand in a place of openness, kind of saying to the magic spirits that be or what have you, I'm open to experience. I'm open to going out after a rainstorm and having this shower of bird song and and just letting myself feel it, letting it permeate my being, and just letting it move into me in whatever way it wants to, and not having an expectation of what that should be, because then it can really be the authentic exchange, just like when I said good morning to you this morning, I didn't expect that you would say a specific thing. I figured we'd start to chat a little bit, and our conversation would evolve. And so, like, if we go out with that expectation of just being open, what do we allow?
Oh, that is so true. Just to go out and just enjoy the dance that you're going to have. Just like this morning, we had frost on the grass and everywhere, and it was just, when you said magic, it just came to my mind, because that's exactly what I thought it looked like. It is just magical out here today, because it just glistened in the sunlight, and I'm like, oh my goodness, it is just beautiful. It's just like the whole earth is dancing with me in this magical frost that we have on the ground, and it was so pretty.
Yeah, and I think it's like that's a perfect kind of segue into kind of remembering that we became who we are on this earth with the magical frost and the bird song and the clouds and the, storms and all the things. We're not on for whatever mysterious reason, we're not on another planet that's barren. We're not sitting on the moon, living there. Not that the moon isn't beautiful, but it's a different place, right? We would be probably different people if that's where we were starting our lives. And so I think it's just sort of this recognition and honoring that we kind of have to tip a hat to all the other beings too, because we often put humans at the top of the pyramid or at the center of the web. But the truth of the matter is that we all need each other. And that is one of the things that is a beautiful, I think of it as a spiritual kind of principle in a way, It's just, we all need each other. And when we're doing it well, when we're here as conscious humans with our hearts open and our minds open, what we really can do is be much more of a contribution to this earth than a deficit. And I think it's easy to forget that, but it's so true.
Oh, yes, it is. Definitely. Oh, wow. Deb, we could talk for hours about this because I just love it. So many things keep coming into my mind, and I'm like, oh, my goodness, I cannot believe our show is almost over, because this has just been fabulous. I've loved every moment of it. You've brought up so many good points and so many different ideas on it. When people listen to this and they're going, I want to connect with Deb Matlock, how is the best way for them to connect with you, Deb?
Oh, I would love to connect with your listeners for sure. And people can start with my website, which is wild-rhythms.com. And from there, they can sign up for my newsletter or check out my social media icons, and we can connect in various ways. I also have a Facebook group called Sacred Connection, Earth, Animals, and Spirit. And I would wholeheartedly welcome any Robust Lifestyle listeners who want to join in there and continue these conversations.
Oh, thank you, Deb. Thank you so much for sharing that too, and for sharing everything you did. And I am so excited for in April when you're back, and we are sharing more about the earth, animals, and spirit, because it is just beautiful. Thank you so much, Deb, and you have an absolutely magical rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. And I would like to thank each one of our listeners for listening to this absolutely invigorating show with our incredible diva, Deb Matlock. Please share this show with all your family and friends. Check out all the other hosts and their shows on divasthatcare.com. And remember, we all need each other in this world. It's all about earth, animals, and spirits, and how we are all connected together, and we can all dance together. How beautiful. Everyone, have a magical day. Remember, be kind to all, and give your animals that great big extra hug, and share your love with them. Until we connect again on Robust Lifestyle, stay strong and healthy.
Thanks for listening. This show was brought to you by Divas That Care. Connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course on divasthatcare.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss a thing.